Hey, everybody. This is Dr. Crystal Richardson. Very extremely happy to be with you today. We are here on LIG Life Innovation Global TV. This particular segment is called The World Speaks, and these are some of our pre-shows that we're just coming to you to explain what we will be doing starting in the new year and to have just a few pre-topics. Now, on The World Speaks, there will be a number of short segments related to various topics, and those are our topic casts. But today, what we're going to be doing, as I mentioned, is a pre-show, and this particular one is on wealth planning intentions, and we'll be right back. Well, hey, everybody. This is Dr. Crystal Richardson here on Life Innovation Global TV. We have a number of amazing things planned for you during 2025 and beyond. So it doesn't matter when you're watching this, we're hoping that you get some value out of these shows. So today, what we're going to be talking about is legacy planning, wealth planning, and intentions. So we all know that when a person passes away, there's always all these different things that happen with family, whether the person has a will or not, whether they have a trust or not, whether they have, someone who is going to execute those documents for them or not. And so that is part of the last part of what we're going to talk about just very briefly. We've had some of our women in Women of Impact and Innovation International. We've had where we've done some shows, some various topics related to this on those shows too, to just kind of talk about, how that goes specifically for women. But that's, like I said, the second part of what we'll talk about, because wealth planning intentions, looking at your wealth portfolio is something that you want to be able to enjoy and take advantage of while you're here, while you're still alive, right? So didn't necessarily mean to talk about that part first, but I think that's something that's just, on my mind, because there's so many different things that can come up during our lifetime while we're planning this part that we're not paying attention to that part. And since we don't know, when our last day is going to be, we need to also make sure that we're taking care of that part so that it has less stress on the family, and your intentions, your wishes are something that would be outlined, and then people would be able to execute related to your plans and intentions for after you're not here. So let's go back to the part about being alive, okay? And so your wealth planning. So part of this, we're going to go through various steps, and I'll just play another commercial related to my book so that you can go and get a pen and some paper, or if you want to bring out your tablet, or if you want to take notes on your computer or on your phone, all of that is great too. But there's always, whenever I have these shows, some different topics that you should potentially pay attention to based on, being able to refer back to it in the future. And I really like that, because whenever I watch anything, or whether I go to an event, whether I'm presenting or not, it's always important to have an intention, and then also have where you come out of that event or watching that podcast or show or whatever with something. Come out of it with something, right? There's too many times that we as people, and specifically as women, we're just, so caught up into like, wow, that was great, or the shiny syndrome, like, oh, I'm going to go and do this. Oh, I'm going to go and do this. Oh, that looks great, and do that. And then at the end of the day, the end of the week, end of the month, end of the year, we're like, what did I learn? What did I do? What did I put in place? And so I'm always wanting to have that there is some kind of action that you can get out of this, where you can listen to all of the various points and say, okay, I'm just going to pick one or two, or all of them were great, and I'm going to go and execute that. All right. So one of the things that I talk a lot about on here, and you already saw one commercial, is related to public speaking. And I do have a book, The 51 Powerful P's. Is it this way? Is this way right here? The 51 Powerful P's of Public Speaking. And helping people to understand, how you can use speaking to get the things that you want out of life, related to expanding your business, even related to, even from a spiritual perspective, being able to speak in front of church congregations or to small groups, or if it is something that you have a one-on-one conversation with someone related to wanting to get a raise, like what are 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of the P's that you should use for that particular conversation. If you have a presentation at work, whether you want to have a family meeting. I'm a proponent of family meetings. And so that you're doing planning and communication with your family, just as you would if you are in a business, or again, in another organization, or even in your church. Have where you do planning meetings, have where you have conversations. And so that communication can benefit from this, all of those different kinds of communication can benefit from this book. So while you're going to get your notepad, if you don't have it already, I'll just go ahead and play that commercial, and I'll be right back, and we'll talk about wealth planning and intentions. Hey, everyone. This is Dr. Preshow Richardson. Extremely happy to be with you today to talk about wealth planning intentions, as well as what happens with that wealth after we are not here. So we will get into that part as well. And this is something that my husband and I, we help people with this while they're still alive, as well as when people pass away. Um, and we're counseling them from a ministerial perspective. We are working with the family at that time. You know, the person's already gone, unfortunately, but we're working with the family at that time to talk about what's going to happen with their property. You know, is there any other, are there any other assets? Was there a will? Was there a trust? And is there any debt? You know, do they have a way of covering the funeral expenses? And if there is something that is left from an asset perspective, whether it's house or land or other businesses and whatnot, you know, were there any contracts related to those? Was the, you know, was your name, you know, on this, or anyone in your family? And it ends up being a number of times. I can count, I think maybe even past one hand, where it's really been a stressful time for the family because there's girlfriends or ex-wives, or there's, you know, or brothers or whoever, you know, that have come in and um, have caused, you know, issues of everyone wanting some of what is left. Or there's a business partner and the family didn't know the business partner or didn't like the business partner. And so they then take control of everything because the business partner wasn't written in to all of the businesses, whether it's an LLC, S Corp, C Corp, or like whatever the legal setup was for the actual company. Uh, like they were not on it. They were not on the deed, you know, like all of these different things. And so these are the kinds of things that we talk about after the person is gone. But while we're here, we can help set up some of those things related to wealth planning and intention. So the intention initially for wealth planning, the first thing should be that you are doing this so that you can enjoy some of the benefits, right? And so you always hear me talk about the cash flow quadrant. And if you've watched this before, this show, or heard me talk at all, I talk about it a lot. And whether it's, you know, the E, the S, the B, or the I, you want to be on the right side of the cash flow quadrant. So it's okay to be an E, to be an employee, and to be a business owner or a person who has systems set up so that you can work your job and work in, not your job, but you can work in and on your business from anywhere in the world. Also to have investments, which is the I, where, you know, you're using your money, other people's money um, to run various initiatives where you just have money coming in. And you can have money coming in any of those areas of the cash flow quadrant, but you don't want to trade time for money. You don't want to trade time for money. So as part of your wealth plan, the number one thing that I'm going to say is that, not the number one, but the first thing we're going to talk about, excuse me, is trading time for money. So you want to evaluate where are you in your life? Where are you in your life related to trading time for money? So I want you to write that down because that's going to be very, very extremely important to understand where are you in that particular aspect of life. And we all do that from time to time. Maybe we all don't, but I'm just going to say we all do. We all do that from time to time where we trade time for money, but it should not be the primary. So as part of wealth planning and your intention going into the new year, it is to reduce the amount of time that you're spending trading time for money. Now, it may not be that you can do that in a year. It may not be that you can do it in 2 years, maybe 3 years. Okay, it just kind of depends on where you are in your savings and your investments and the various things that in your debt, which is very important as well because you have to pay off your debt. So trading time for money. So that's one of the first things that we want you to look at is where are you in that particular area. And there's a lot of reasons why people do that. Sometimes it may be that it's in a family business where that is actually okay because you are part owner in that business, trading time for money. But it may be that you never even thought about having your own company, and you just wanted to have where you did what you were told to growing up, which is to go to school, whether it's college or not, go or get some kind of trade, and then to get a job, to get a job. So as we look at trading time for money and how much of that are we doing? Are we doing it 40 hours a week, uh, more? We always have to work overtime because we do have debt. So we are doing that to support our needs, our family's needs. We're working 50, 60 hours a week or more. We're working 4 days a week, 5 days, 6, 7 days a week, trading time for money. And that can get old very fast. And it may already be old for you. And I want to ask you that question. Is that something that is really weighing on you? Because that is something that you're doing. And you really have some other goals, some other aspirations, some other things that are going on in your mind that you really want to get out into the world, into the atmosphere. But you can't because you're trading time for money. And then when you do get home, you have to cook dinner, or you have to find some way of getting some food. There's lots of ways to get food these days. You have to prepare for the next day. You have to help your family. If you have a family with anything else that they need to do, you have to walk the dog, you have to take out the trash, like you have to do all these things. And then you need to go to sleep. Okay, so, and then the cycle just starts all over the next day. So with wealth planning and intentions, part of what we want to do is really, really, really get you on the trajectory of having where you are not spending most of your time trading time for money. And whenever you do that, it's because you're doing it because you want to. You want to, as opposed to not because you need to, you have to. It's because you want to. So if I have a speaking engagement or something like that, yeah, they're paying me. So I'm trading time for money, but that's okay because that's something I actually want to do and love doing. So that would be one thing. And that's the first thing on our list. The next thing related to wealth planning and intentions. So I want to go back to the first, is that it should be our intention to reduce, as I mentioned, reduce the amount of time that we are trading time for money. One of the next things related to wealth planning and intentions is to understand where we are related to having clear financial goals. And this can go hand in hand with the first one that I mentioned, trading time for money, clear financial goals. So what is a financial goal? Again, it depends on where you are in your life, what that would look like. And so a financial goal could be that you want to have XYZ amount of income per year, like overall. Or it could be that you want to have a specific goal related to passive income in a year. Or it could be that you have a financial goal that you want to have this number of clients that are paying this amount coming in per month. Okay, so all of these are all different kinds of financial goals. Or that you want to have this amount that you're able to invest per year. Or this amount that you want to have. One of the next things we're going to talk about. I'm not going to tell you the next thing that I was about to say. I'm going to wait till we get there. So financial goals. It's very important for us to have the categories, understand the categories, and then move forward in our life with having those goals defined, not just the overall, I want to have this amount by this time in the year, but how. So what we just did was the what of a financial goal. We did the what of a financial goal. And we need to do the how, okay? So what and how. Part of the how is with that goal, then how are you going to get there? And there's always a who. I tell you, using the who, what, where, when, how often, and why, using those in a lot of areas of life just makes analyzing things so much easier. And I do have a book that will be coming out related to how to utilize those words. But you have a financial goal. That's the what. How are you going to do it? What steps are you going to take? You doing this by yourself, or are you going to have other people? That's the who. So the who would be you. And then it would also be, are there other people? And then why do you have that goal? Like, why did you pick that number out of all the other numbers that you could have picked for that particular area of a financial goal? Why did you pick that number? Okay. So it's important for us to know our why. I just want to get the microphone set here. It's important for us to know the why and the who and like all of these different parts and where are the gaps. Okay. So as we name and go through some of these things, we're also going to be talking about the gaps. So for each of these, we are going to have it as a category, but if you just want to write down the word gaps right now, that's fine with me because it's going to come up often because after we set all of these things, then it's okay, this is what I want. This is where I am. And this is the amount of money away that I am from that goal. So that's the gap, okay? Or the amount of time that you're away, or the amount of people. I have one team member and I want to have 4 team members doing X, Y, Z. So all of this gets into a lot of specificity. So we went over trading time for money. We went over, what are your financial goals? And part of the financial goal, one of the next things I wanted to talk about is you have these goals, but wealth planning and intention, one of the next things that comes up is, okay, you have this, you make money right now, you may be well on your way, but still, there may be some things that you could eliminate, okay? So the next one we'll write down is what can you eliminate? What can you eliminate? And the thing that I do every year, even though everything doesn't come due every year, is looking at what organizations I'm in and what subscriptions do I have. Because a lot of this comes down to we're in all these different organizations and a lot of them cost money, whether it's a mastermind, whether it's this group, that group. There's a membership fee and subscriptions. We used to talk about magazine subscriptions. We don't really talk about that too much anymore. But subscriptions to all different kinds of apps, all kinds of different services. That's part of what it is for me. And groups and whatnot too. But apps and services and tools. And I'm looking at these, I'm like, okay. And you should know based on your budget. The budget and what you should eliminate kind of go hand in hand. So doing what you need to do for wealth planning to budget for the year, can you afford with the amount that you have coming in, the amount that you plan to have coming in, to have these subscriptions and be in these groups and pay this, these amounts? Because some of these, depending on what it is that we have, it's a big chunk of money that comes out if you have automatic payments set up. Now, I also have alerts on my accounts so that I know if it's over $50, over $100, if it's over $200, $250, like whatever the amount may be, you set up the alert limit that you will get a notification on your phone, on your email, that amount is coming out. But it should be that you know already, what's coming out. But this also helps you if you happen to have where, someone has hacked your account and that has happened. And so actually it happened like a number of years ago. I was teaching about this and talked to people about setting up alerts. And while we were on break, I got an alert and I had to miss like a couple more hours of someone else presenting because I had to go and call the bank and try to work out because it got hacked while I was doing that. Not by anybody in where I was. Okay, it was in a different state, and what was going on in a different state. I think that I had just left or something like that. But I'm like, really? God, you have jokes, right? Like, I'm teaching this right now, and this is happening to me right now. So I ended up having like a real life example to go over with them on how everything worked, like afterwards, of which I had before. And unfortunately, we had that happen before. It's just something that happens when you use credit cards online or in person, or at the gas station or wherever, that people find ways to do whatever they're going to do that's illegal, unfortunately. But yeah, so we're talking about eliminating things. Like, what is it you can eliminate? So knowing what's coming out, when it's coming out of your account, and do you still want that or need that for this coming year, is something that you can evaluate on an annual basis. And it can be at the beginning of the year, it can be whenever you want, but having where that's something that you evaluate on an annual basis. So this is part of your wealth planning, knowing where your money is going and when and to who. And it's a new season. It could be, it's a new quarter. You just had a meeting with someone to go over how you're going to restructure your business. And now, with where you were, you don't need the things that you needed when it was structured in one specific way. Now, when it's structured in this way, you can go in and figure out what it is that you can eliminate. Elimination is so, so good, so good. And I am in that month, of which that's when I take a look at this to see what I can eliminate. And so we'll be having some meetings, some intensives that will be happening here in the next few days, as well as over this next month. And I'll be looking at what I can eliminate. All right. So that should have been number 3 for you. What can you eliminate? Now, for wealth planning, part of this is not having where everything is done one way. And what does that mean? The number 4 that I want to talk about is diversification. Part of wealth planning is to not have, as they always say, I don't really like to use this, but not having all your eggs in one basket, having where, you can diversify related to your investments, relating to even, your charitable contributions, other things that you can write off, and have where you diversify also with your income. Now, you've heard me, again, if you've heard me speak, talk about element 10, that you should have 10 substantial and sustainable streams of income at any one time. 10 substantial and sustainable streams of income at any one time. Not 10 jobs, but streams of income. So ways that you have money coming in, you wake up and you look into this account, that account, there's money coming in. You have a check coming in here, a check coming in there, automatically deposited into your account various ways. And that's a good thing. And substantial and sustainable, so that it just does it and you don't really have to pay too much attention to it. So, there's lots of ways you can do that with various businesses, various investments, online courses, mentorship, or where there's group training, or there's different things where people have subscribed to you for various things, and it's automated, having different things automated where you don't necessarily have to be there live and in person. You can have a team that helps with various things, and then you can only would have to maybe just show up like once a month or something like that. There's like a lot of different ways that you can have these different streams. And I really, really appreciate when people share, the various examples of what it is that they're doing, so that gives examples and ideas to other people on how they can have this. Now, there's a lot of get rich, quote unquote, schemes out there that you want to be careful that you're not having where you're, again, doing the shiny syndrome, that someone comes and like, oh, you can make money doing this. And it's really hands off and blah, 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 blah. And then you don't do your due diligence, or you don't really know what it is that you don't know. And you go ahead and get involved. So some people do use me as their behind the scenes due diligence person to help evaluate, these different opportunities. And depending on what it is, I do give them my professional opinion. And depending on what it is, it's actually sometimes I've stated that I need to talk to the person, and you can introduce me as whoever it is that you want to introduce me as, to ask these various questions. But sometimes I just give them the questions to ask, and then they ask and they get back with me as to what the person said. And either I give them some follow-on questions or I ask them what were their follow-on questions, and then we just kind of take it from there. There is a portion of my business that's called reduceinvestmentrisk.com. And that's whether you want someone to invest in your business and you have a risk pro forma that you can let them know that being in business with you would be a low risk opportunity, or you want to invest and you want to ask these questions and have this due diligence done on another company. That is a service that I provide. So if that's something that you would like to have more information on, you can let me know and I can get that information to you. I have various banners here. I was looking to see if that was one of the ones that I had that I could just put up on the screen. But yeah, you can just let me know right here. Let's see, reduceinvestmentrisk.com. It's right there on the screen. All right, so it's very important, ladies and gentlemen, for us to have a wealth plan. And there's so many different aspects to it. I really want to have where, I'm able to provide value to you by having where there's these different checklists and different things that you can use to know what to do that type of planning. So we're going to just take a quick little break here. And when we get back, we're going to go into number 5, okay? So I really appreciate you all being on today. And we're just going to thank our sponsors and also let you know some of what we're going to be doing related to some awards that are going to be coming up at the end of this year. We'll be right back. Hey, everyone. This is Dr. Crystal Richardson. Very extremely happy to have you here with us. Just fixing my hair a little bit here. Okay. Very extremely happy to have you with us today. related to wealth planning and intentions. Today's show is one that's very near and dear to my heart because for everyone, but especially for women, how we sometimes don't necessarily have a handle on what's going on with the finances if we're in a relationship or even if it's us by ourselves. It's just like a lot to think about and a lot to plan for. And sometimes we feel alone in this. And so I really, really love to be able to have where we are able to give some information related to how you can go forward in life with more freedom and with more calmness and peace related to how things are going to go in the future because you have good planning in place related to your finances and wealth. Wealth is not just related to money. So the next thing that we're going to go over, and maybe we'll just kind of review right now. The first thing we were talking about was trading time for money. The next one we were talking about were financial goals. And then we talked about what is it that we can eliminate. And then 4, we talked about diversification. And then now what we're going to talk about is inventory, an inventory of our assets. Now, some people may say, I don't have any assets. Well, you have something, okay? Even your clothes, depending on what it is. Like I have some like pretty cool clothes, but I digress. Some of them might be worth some money, but what is it that you have? Whether it's property, is it a boat? Is it a car? Is it a house? Other investments? Is it a business? Like, the list can go on and on of what it is that you have that is on your list of assets. And I mentioned clothes. There may be paintings, sculptures, things that have value that someone would be able to either keep so that it can, appreciate as opposed to depreciate. It can raise in value as time goes on, or it could be something that's sentimental that you want to have to go to someone, because we're on number 5, which is the inventory. And then 6 is part 1 and part 2 is have a will that you've written out, have a will that you've written out and a trust. Now, we'll get into that because there's revocable and non-revocable trusts. So we'll kind of talk about what those are too. But having where you have an inventory. So no matter how small you think it is, how small or how large that may be, having where you have a inventory of your assets is very important, because no matter how big or small that list is, it just causes issues and problems again when you're not here. So while you're here, knowing what you have, knowing the value of those assets, again, is something that's very, very important. And if we're talking about different investments, there's a number of ways that if you have a financial advisor, if you have a tax advisor, there's a number of ways that particular assessment can go, so that what to do for yourself, and when you may want to use some of the if you want to liquidate or however you want to use some of that money, based on what you have yourself, or in the event that you pass away, what's going to happen to those assets, and if other people want to liquidate, if they've been noted as a beneficiary, then it would be important for you to already have all of that outlined. And we're going to get into that into the next session. But this particular one is just talking about having an inventory of your assets. What are they and what's the value? What are they? What's the value? What organization is it with? And is it, which is number 6, is it or are they written in your will or in your trust? So that's something that's very, very important, to know this inventory, and so that you have all of this documented in a will or in a trust. So 5 was the inventory, and 6 is the will and trust. Now, why is this important? It's very important to have everything, if you could, in a trust. and have where, uh, there's minimal that's in your actual name versus in the name of a business or in the name of a trust. And we can get into, some shows that talks about, what the why related to those. But it helps to safeguard you if something comes up. They can't necessarily go after you and your money and your accounts because your name is not necessarily on that. It would be in the name of the business or in the name of the trust. So um, it just gives you another layer of protection. So wills and trusts. So having these drawn up legally, but first just writing down in your own handwriting what it is that you would like to have happen. What are your wishes? And you've seen either in person because you've been involved or on movies where there's a person who has a video that the attorney or the advisor plays the video from the person. Like if you're watching this video, then this means that that I've gone on and I just wanted to say, Sally, this and Frank, I really appreciate that. And Bulinda, you have like all these different people. I don't know where Bulinda just came from, but you have her, the person is saying what they want to say. And then everything is actually written down, in the will or in the trust. Now, having where through your lifetime, you can make changes to the trust is different than if you have one where, everything is set. This is the trust and there cannot be any adjustments. And so you want to have where you go through that, with the people that are helping to set that up for you and with you, with your financial advisor, whomever it is, your attorney, where you can have where there's all these documents that have outlined what your wishes are and how you want people to use the money, whether a certain percentage of it should go to charity, whether a certain percentage of it is for educational. That's what's in there a lot of times, for people, depending on the age of the people in their family, or if there's, a percentage to go on to support family needs, and then outlining what are the types of family needs that this money could go towards. So depending on the responsibility of the people, how responsible the people are that are in your family or that are your friends or whoever um, that are going to get the money or get the assets or have control over the assets, then that kind of outlines and shows, that kind of determines is the word I was trying to say, that determines how you're going to outline that trust. Now it can be, you made a trust like years and years and years ago, and maybe while your children were still young, or other people in your family were still young, and now you want to update it. That is okay to do, and should be done, based on where people are now in their life, their level of responsibility, and how you trust them because of where they are in their life. They've done well and they've proven that they can handle these kinds of conversations and decisions, with the money. It may be that you want to make that change, or it goes the opposite way as well, where someone is just not showing themselves to be responsible. Maybe they end up, unfortunately, having like a drug problem or alcohol problem or having some other problems, and they now fall into some financial issues. And every time they get money, they're not using it in a productive way, positive way. It may be that you want to change your will or your trust so that they would still get something, but have where it's controlled and controlled disbursements in a way that maybe one of the other siblings is responsible for helping with that, or the financial advisor is able to help with that. So there's a lot of different ways that can go. So that would be one of the next things that I would say. Now we're talking about This is the World Speaks, and there's a lot of different ways that this is done across the world. And so when we start getting into some of these other conversations with people in the different countries and how things are handled there as opposed to here in the United States, or if people have, or they have properties and other assets across the world, how are they handling that? it'll be great to get some of that input as we move forward with these shows here on Life Innovation Global TV. So as we get ready to end here in about the next 5 minutes or so, I wanted to have where we just take a look at just a few more aspects of 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 this, and we were talking about um, planning, wealth planning. Now, a lot of this just goes out the window if a person has some health issues. So one of the next things that I want to talk about, and I guess we can call that number 8, is health directives. Health directives. And why is that important? Why is that important? The reason why that is important, I believe that's number 7. The reason why that's important is because, again, some health conditions could come up, and it could be that it's days, weeks, months, years, before you actually pass away. But some things that come up, you're not able to help make the decisions. So having a power of attorney is very important. And having health directives of what you already know you want to have happen with you and for you is very important. So that power of attorney and how you want things to go once you get to that point is extremely important. Now, a lot of people wait till they're like my age or older to put these in place. So I'm currently 60. A lot of times people wait till they're around my age or older to put these in place. But having health directives at any age is important. Because again, people pass away, or people have where they're in an accident or something, and then they're paralyzed, and now you can find a way to get a message to someone, like write it or whatever, but or have them understand your gestures and things like that. But if you already had this in place, I would say in your 20s, 30s, or whatever, it would be good to have where people understand what your wishes would be. And so, being who I am, like I already knew when I was a child, a youth, a young adult, how I wanted all of that to go. Okay, but everybody's not like that. So I'm just urging you, if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, like whenever it is, no matter what your age is, if you don't already have that in place, I encourage you to put some things like that in place, so people know what it is that you want to do. And just talk about, from a power of attorney perspective, have it legally written and notarized, however you want to do that, but have where people understand the power of attorney aspect of your life. If you're not able to speak for yourself or make these decisions for yourself, that there's a person who is available to do that for you. So that's another thing that I wanted us to think about. And then one of the last things that I want to talk about is your legacy, your legacy communication. Legacy communication. And what is that? A lot of times it could take the form of a video, it could take the form of a letter, it could take the form of a book, a little booklet that you write to your family, or it could just be something that's typed up that your financial advisor or your attorney has. So your legacy communication. So it's where you say how much you love the various people and how you wish the best for them, and you wish God's blessings on them always, and can also have where you're talking about what it is that you want them to have and do, and that you really trust them to make good decisions, and whether you want something to be donated, you're expressing that in this legacy communication. Again, it can be a letter, it can be a video, it can take various forms. A poem, it can be a song. People do like all different kind of things. We're talking about wealth planning and intentions, right? So we have where we do what we do in our life, taking inventory of our assets, and have where we see how what money is going out, what are our liabilities, and just really like what is going out each and every year from our various accounts, and what is it we can eliminate. We talked about how we trade time for money, just kind of doing a little summary here, and how we want to reduce trading time for money, and then how we want to plan for our next generation and those that are going to be coming after us, and having where we create out of all of this generational wealth for our family, and a way for all of us to do planning such that the next generations and our benefactors know what it is that we expect. And hopefully they go forward with the same charge, the same energy, and also some of the same education that we've had, where they are brought along in that education. So part of wealth planning, ladies and gentlemen, is having where we take the time ourselves to do some education with those that are coming next, whether it is a business partner or whether it is those in our family, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, or our children, where they're educated by us, but also where they have enrolled or we have enrolled them in various courses, degrees, or just, certificates you can get from various institutes, tests that they can take, to have where they've passed various types of tests to maybe do financial planning and all of that. And maybe they don't want to do financial planning, or maybe they do. Maybe they don't want to do it, but just have them take the courses so that they can have a better idea on how to plan for themselves. So all of this helps us with our wealth planning and our intentions. So having an intention to educate ourselves, having an intention to be able to execute all of these different plans, and having an intention for those that are going to come after us to have where they're able to do the same and do well for themselves with what we've left, because we have it outlined. We have where there's specific people in place for financial advisors, tax advisors. We have everything listed out. We have a will, we have a trust, and directives, health directives. We have a power of attorney. We have all these different things in place. And so there's a lot of companies out there that have packets that help you with that. We also have one that's going to be coming out 2025. And I would love to be able to have some conversations with you on that, how to create the multiple streams of income, element 10 substantial and sustainable streams of income, and then outlining that in a way that can really, really help you to have peace of mind related to what's going to go on with you and your family moving forward. I hope you enjoyed today's show related to wealth planning and intentions, and we look forward to being with you again next week. And you can also go back and look at some of our previous shows as well, and we hope that you get something out of it. Remember, we need to always do our best to keep rising together. Thank you.